Hey there, film fans. I'm Jeff.
I'm Dave.
And I'm John, and welcome back to The Love of Cinema, a pod in which we'll challenge one another to discuss movies, both new and old, with a strictly positive critical eye.
That's right. And to avoid lazy negativity, we decided to make this episode a drinking game.
Ooh.
Oh, dear.
To make sure we say nothing negative, only things that are positive, to keep us honest, to keep us positive. Every time we say something negative, you're going to hear this sound. That sound means that we are taking a drink. We hope you drink along with us.
So, pour yourselves a glass. We're going back to the 80s for a very unique choice of movie from me.
Oh, we did it.
Didn't see this one coming, did you?
Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Pre-show shot to get us loose.
What do they drink in Indonesia? Cheers, whatever that is. Yeah.
Yes.
Java.
Ooh.
It's not our sponsor, but Carl, John, you weren't here last week. My friend Carl gave me so much whiskey and so much scotch. So today I'm going to finish off the Glenmorangie. I have no idea how to say that.
The fuck? What?
The Quinta Ruban Highland single malt scotch whiskey. It's the age 14 years in a port cask finish. And I don't have any, we have so many bottles, so I'm going to finish this one tonight. Thank you, Carl.
How is it? Is it good?
I don't know.
Is it okay? Is it
Carl.
Fuck you, Carl. Is it just like a waste of fucking scotch?
The cast off. No, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. Thank you very much. Okay, guys, we're talking about the film year 1982. That was what came up on our random year generator, which we've been doing since about the strike. And even though the strike is sort of over, guys, even though I have a feeling...
It is.
Guys, I have a feeling a bunch of actors are going to vote no. I have a feeling it's... Cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
No. I think it's going through.
I think it's going through as well.
It's gonna go through, but I don't think it's gonna get that same like 99% that the WGA did when they ratified it. Because apparently the AI shit's a little murky that we still need to go through that. But I'm sure I trust Fran. I trust the people. Anyway, so anyway, with the random year generator said 1982, we came up with a huge list. Dave basically said Pink Floyd's The Wall or this movie, The Year of Living Dangerously, which stars his countryman Mel Gibson. Stars Mel Gibson before the DUIs, and a British Sigourney Weaver, as well as Academy Award winner. As well as Academy Award winner Linda Hunt. Year of Living Dangerously, 1982. Fantastic movie. So we're going to get into that conversation soon. Introduce you to a little bit of the 1982 film year. And before that, once we get through some news and other things that we got going on, maybe some gripes, we're going to do a little mini review or two. I think John saw the Killer.
Yeah, I did.
The David Fincher film, which just came out on Netflix November 10th, but it was in limited release in certain theaters, which John saw. Dave, did you see anything? You were filming this weekend. I bet you wanted to see the Marvels.
I saw the Marvels.
Oh, okay. So we got two mini reviews. Who wants to go first?
Yeah, talk about it, Dave. How did you All
right.
How did I missed that completely? That review. When did it release? Last Thursday?
This Thursday just gone.
Yeah.
Just now, you saw it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, damn, dude.
Yeah, I saw it Friday morning because I had some time before I did pickups for the film we're shooting.
Spoiler-free mini review of The Marvels by Dave. Let's go.
Dude, I had so much fun. This was tight. An hour and 45. It came in. It resolved some stuff.
Is that the shortest Marvel movie?
I think it's the shortest Marvel movie ever.
Wow.
But it doesn't suffer for it at all. As predicted, in my opinion... Ms. Marvel steals the fucking show. So it's a fun watch all round though. I don't know, it's just a very tight, concise plot. And it was a fun ride. That's all I can give you. Without spoiling anything. Because it's a fucking Marvel movie, and if you say anything, it's like, I've ruined that. Yeah.
That is
right. No, I think
mini review.
It is.
No, it's good.
Yeah, it was just fun. It was fun.
As many as a mini review could get. I love it.
It's good to see some. It's good to see some characters back in fine form. That's all I can say.
So you tempt me with having to leave right now to go see the Marvels, Dave.
Yeah, of course they pull him back. Dave Kevin was at school showing that thing last week. And I missed it.
What school? You go? Wait, school? What did you?
Yeah,
what,
I don't know.
school?
I don't ever talk about. I try not to talk about it, but.
Well, guess what? The Hunger Games comes out. The Hunger Games comes out next week with the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and it's 2 hours and 45 minutes, so a little bit longer than your movie.
Oh my fucking god!
Does anyone know when that film takes place? Like after the third
year 10. Year 10.
No. Yeah, it's like right before everything.
It's when President Snow, aka Donald Sutherland, is like a teenager. It's like you know.
It's a prequel. It's a full-on prequel. It's pretty much how it started.
I forget what games the Katniss does. I want to say like the 60th or something, but this is the 10th.
Yeah.
Oh, so she's not in this.
No,
she's the years
nothing to do with it.
conceived.
Yeah,
She will be conceived for a half century.
I could easily look it up on my own, but we're a podcast, so I'll ask you verbally. Who's playing young Donald Sutherland?
I believe it is that fucking guy, Tom Blythe, Coriolanus Snow.
Oh, yeah. I could see it. Okay, cool. I never really watched any of those movies. I think I saw the first one and part of another one. I never got on board, so I hope it does well, though. I hope it's good. I know, Jeff, you liked those, didn't you?
The first two, sure. Yeah.
Okay.
And I read the book.
There were some elements of the third one I liked because it came out just after she won the award for Silver Linings.
Something like that, yeah.
And there's that one section where she has to pretend like basically her character can't act. So it was an Oscar-winning actress acting like she can't act.
It's true.
And that amused the hell out of me to no end.
But then the PETA thing comes, and she I don't know if she's supposed to be in love with him or not. The PETA problem was a real thing in the third and fourth movie when he becomes a weapon at the end of the third.
Do you have a bubble in your throat? Did you?
Fuck everybody. Oh shit!
Sounded like you had a little bit of a bubble.
All right.
So David Fincher's The Killer.
Yeah.
It's already on Netflix. So I don't know if it's in release for most of the cities around America. It did not go to AMC or one of the big places here. I went to the Landmark over in Westwood near UCLA to see it. And I really don't want to give too much away because this is a unique Fincher story in the sense that, and I was trying to remember if I could say this about any of his other films, and I don't think I can, even Benjamin Button. I think this is the only Fincher film, certainly modern Fincher film, that it has one storyline. It is subjective. It is completely subjective. So he's not moving in and out of that. There's no beeline. There's no objectivity where you're kind of looking from a God's eye on what's happening. This is a story that follows Michael Fassbender in his slice of life beginning on a hit as the killer assassin, which is in the promo shot and everything. And then it just like takes off from there, and it kind of turns into a revenge flick, and you just follow him on his quest, and then it's over. And it's just in and out, subjective. And in a way, it was kind of, I think some people might think it's going to be a little bit underwhelming. I know we haven't seen him make something like a good killer, death, mystery, blood, serial killery kind of, we haven't seen him do that in a little while. So I think some people might be a little underwhelmed because of this subjectivity. But I think if you give it a chance and you just strap in, there might be an argument that this is one of his more personal films. And the way the filmmaking comes into it, especially structurally, it lines up so perfectly with the character that it is following. It starts to feel like the filmmaking is the way the character approaches life, which is cold, quick, succinct. So anyway, I think people should give it a shot. Let me just make one caveat. There is a very long voiceover-driven first-person opening sequence, and I'm afraid people are going to press pause about 6 or 7 minutes in and say, I don't know if I want to watch this because it's long. Please just get through that sequence. Just keep going. I thought it was great and invigorating, but I saw it on a giant screen. So I just kept thinking, people are at home and he's 6 or 7 minutes in and it's still a voiceover. And
is this dropping to streaming with no cinema window? Or
that's what John was saying, yeah.
It already had its window. I think it's already been out for, it's on day
no AMC
6 now. So it only needs 8 days now. So it's not doing a big release to AMC. Yeah. It's just going straight to Netflix.
So Netflix and AMC hate each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So they don't have a new partnership yet.
I don't
know. Yeah.
Because they had a deal. They signed a deal a year ago.
Wasn't it Warner Brothers had a deal?
Netflix announced Thursday that AMC, Regal, and Cinemark will carry during Knives Out. I remember this was a huge thing, but I don't know what the Fincher thing is. I don't know.
Yeah. So anyway, check it out.
Okay.
If you love David Fincher, I think you're still going to have a wonderful time watching it. His filmmaking is, he's I like him. He's still killing it. Anyway, let's do it.
All right. Any gripes? Any news? Anything you guys? I guess I have a mini gripe.
All right.
Okay.
I'm in the timer.
Mini gripe.
Okay, so whenever you have a hot buffet or cold, I don't care, a fucking buffet, and it's always by weight, right? What is up with them putting in chicken bones, like chicken wings or fucking ribs? The bone is not edible. It's not fair that you have this as part of the weight for this food, because it's sitting there being, you have 1.5 pounds of food, so it's 75 cents an ounce. So you're all of a sudden your fucking meal is $25, but half of that you can't eat. So I'm only eating $10 worth of food, but I'm being charged for 25. The bone in the weighted buffet is bullshit.
Are you talking about
schools should know this. No, Golden Corral you pay at the door.
Look,
this is like Wegmans. This is Whole Foods. This is my college that I teach at. Come on with this horse shit.
Have you ever weighed a chicken bone? You're being charged $25 because you're a fucking garbage guts.
Garbage guts?
Yeah, how much do those bones?
That's for both of us.
Bones? How many chicken wings are you walking up? Are you eating at this buffet? Like, why are you going for bone meat specifically?
There's like voodoo priests going without their chicken bones because Jeff's fucking eating them all.
Guys, I need some.
Jesus Christ.
Guys, I need some protein. It digests the slowest. It helps you be. Come on. I need some protein.
Sure. Yeah. Do they not have chick tenders? You know what I'm saying?
No.
I'm going tenders every time.
No nuggets in the buffet. What?
It was a very small buffet. I will say it's not the best buffet. I don't want to out myself as the word. It's at one of the
That's
schools
all you're
I teach
talking
at.
about. He's talking about you, school.
It's at one of the schools I teach at. The other school I teach at is free buffet for everyone, which is awesome.
Wow.
Yeah, even like, if you're
they
like...
can put as many chicken bones in as they want, apparently.
That's it. And they compost. Fucking awesome, man. They compost their bones.
Ryan's
too. It's
Ryan's Steakhouse, Golden Corral, if you want to sponsor us, get in touch with us. We're at the Love Cinema Pod on all the handles.
Garbage Guts over here is excited to go. All right, you guys ready to talk about 1982 and the year of living dangerously? Peter Weir. Oh my God, Peter Weir's.
Do we buzz him every time he gets a name wrong now?
Yeah, there's no S on his name.
Peter Weir's possessive film.
Oh, comma.
All right, the film year 1982. People, let's get into it. What, my friends, was the highest grossing movie in 1982?
Definitely starred an alien.
Yeah?
Definitely. Steven Spielberg's E.T. the Extraterrestrial.
Hell yeah. $359 million worldwide, which is a shit ton of money in 1982, where you can go to college for what it costs to get a soda today. Tootsie was number 2. An Officer and a Gentleman comes in at number 3 for Paramount Pictures at $129 million. Good for them. Rocky 3, United Artists, made another $100 million and made just a huge opening, like Memorial Day record weekend.
It's funny, An Officer and a Gentleman is another one of those movies that my parents thought I was asleep at the drive-in for.
Oh, yeah?
I've seen it, and I saw it when I was like fucking 10.
Heavy movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Jeff, we watched that together in college. Do you remember that?
Officer and a Gentleman?
Yeah.
I have no recollection, but I don't remember much from college.
Watched it at the Oaks.
Porky's Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, $78 million. 48 Hours, which featured Eddie Murphy in his film debut, $78 million. Poltergeist, so there's Steve twice in the top 8 at $76 million. Steve definitely directed it from afar. Let's put it that way. The Best Little Whorehouse in Texas comes in at number 9. And then fucking Annie comes in at number 10 with $57 million. Other notable films, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Creepshow, Night Shift, and Dave's favorite, Pink Floyd's The Wall. Also, the Coca-Cola Company acquires Columbia Pictures for $750 million. That's right. Coca-Cola owned a fucking movie company.
Yeah.
And they didn't even have cocaine in their soda anymore. And then the sci-fi movie Tron is the first feature to use.
Because I keep getting shit for this, but have you seen that fucking movie?
No, I'm sure it's awesome though. I actually really was hoping we chose it. I was hoping we chose it, but I like this one instead. Sci-fi movie Tron is the first to feature computer animation extensively. Yes. Other things that were going on in the world. Thriller was released. The breakup of AT&T Monopoly was ordered. Argentina invades the Falkland Islands for our British friends over there. You love talking about this shit. The first episode of David Letterman on Late Night debuts.
Oh, wow.
Epcot opens. The Vietnam Veterans Memorial was dedicated. The first commercial use of genetic engineering is launched when a human insulin produced by bacteria is marked. And in 1982, the beginning of the end, Ronald fucking Reagan's Securities and Exchange Commission passed a rule which created a legal process for companies to buy back their own fucking stock, also known as stock buybacks, and those motherfuckers have been rat fucking the global economy ever since by buying back their own stock, quote unquote, legally, therefore disincentivizing companies from investing in their workers by increasing salaries, by increasing pension funds, which is all bullshit backdoor shit that they can do to save that, which they have to do to save on taxes, but they're not incentivized to do any of this. There's no rainy day fund. No company has a savings account anymore. So all of these fucking airlines, hundreds of millions of dollars a year, billions of dollars in profits over the past 10 years. And then the pandemic hits, and then what do? They lay off all their workers, thus trying to spiral the fucking world down because they're so busy paying back their shareholders. They got to give their shareholders this imaginary money so their 401ks can be so fucking good. Oh, that's so great. Our shareholders. Yeah. But then we run out of baby formula, and then you don't have any fucking money. So you have to go to the government to ask for help, which is us. Our fucking tax dollars save these airlines because they don't have a fucking savings account from all their profits because they put it up into the fucking cloud, eradicating the whole point of the dollar and just making this pretend number go up so everybody's 401ks pretend to be higher than they were before, all because of the fucking Reagan SEC 1982 decision to allow stock buybacks, which somehow made something that used to be literally fraud, imprisonable, become an everyday fucking norm that rat fucks the everyday American that doesn't own stock. Thank you. That's all I have to say about stock.
Get out of the way, Joe Biden. Ostermuller, 24. Honestly, dude. Yeah, man, I could not have ranted about that better myself, dude.
Fucking
that is
hate
fucking.
It's like, why wouldn't you give the money back to the shareholders? Oh yeah, because you paying workers is not good. When you could take that money and throw it back to the stock, and then the money's literally gone from the universe until someone sells their shares. It's bullshit.
And then when did they pass the capital gains tax? There was. Adjusted on that after the fact so that people would not have to pay as high of taxes.
Yeah. You know when it wasn't 1982.
1982, that's right.
God almighty.
Any other movies stand out to you from 1982 that we haven't talked about that you guys want to get into?
The Secret of Nim. I wanted to mention that one.
Oh yeah, that's a classic.
Like Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, like that kind of lore?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that book was awesome.
It's a Don Bluth film, one of his early ones.
Yeah.
Huge fucking fan.
There are people that still hunt
Rats
that
moved
out.
their home. Missing. Oh yeah, we also talked about I feel like we talked about some movies in this year, but I can't remember.
Ingmar Bergman's Fanny and Alexander. Maybe his last big massive one that did like really well internationally. That movie's fucking crazy. And
never heard of it.
Never heard of it?
For real, never heard of it.
Yeah, man, that's a popular one. Popular, if you will. We'll put that in quotes for him. The Man from Snowy River. It's for you, Dan.
I almost tried to flog that one, but I knew you wouldn't go for it.
Oh, come on, I would have watched that.
It's based on a poem.
It is based on a poem. Yeah, I think isn't the poet on your $5 bill? What is the name of that guy? I think he's on one of your.
I don't know. I haven't gone back and looked at the Monopoly money lately.
Oh,
because they changed them recently.
I love your notes. They're plastic looking, so cool looking. Anyway, yeah, we have been here before, folks. We have been to 1982. So what did we talk about last time? We talked about The Thing, and we talked about.
I wasn't on
Verdict?
that one.
Was it The Verdict or was it a different year?
Yeah, because that was when Jack was on.
That was Grease 2 as well.
And Grease 2.
Poor bloody Jack. We exposed him to Grease 2.
Poor Jack.
On his first appearance.
I was at Cape May.
This does make me want to rewatch. I don't think I've seen the director's cut of Blade Runner. I think I've only seen the theatrical cut, and I've never felt like that movie. I can't remember. I've just never felt like that movie did to me what it did to people when it came out. Like that generation above me, they seem to just be really, really affected by that movie.
Yeah, Dave, you know that generation?
I have quite controversial opinion about.
You don't
Blade
love
Runner,
it
actually, because I actually preferred the one with the voiceover.
I thought that was the director's cut.
I cannot remember because there's 4 fucking cuts in this movie.
I thought it was the director's cut with the voiceover, but I'm not sure.
I own the definitive one.
Runner
guys, you remember the name of the composer of Blade Runner? And
I do not.
It does have it.
Vangelis.
Yes, dude. God damn it. Vangelis.
No, I think it's
Vangelis. Oh man, so good.
Fucking
Chariots
good
of Fire. Speaking of Vangelis, he had 2 massive hits this year. He won that fucking Oscar for that, and he wrote the Blade Runner score as well. Fucking 2 legendary scores.
Did he do Chariots of Fire?
Chariots was the year before. Oh, we also forgot that Gandhi won a whole bunch of Oscars this year. I forgot to mention that.
Gandhi did clean up. Still has the record by fucking far for the amount of extras. I looked this up not too long ago, you guys.
More than Ron?
Do you know how many extras are in the funeral scene? The approximation of Gandhi. And the next closest one is like a sixth of this amount. And it's like 50,000. There's over 300,000 people in that funeral scene. Holy shit, dude.
Did they get them money? Like, how did they get them there?
I really have no fucking idea. I mean, India's not short on people. So I think they did like recreate the funeral and like just they let everybody show up because it's just this gigantic.
Put on a buffet, you got some chicken wings.
Come on. Chicken masala. Delicious.
Yeah.
Now you mean almost fucking Indian food, dude.
Oh my God.
Beautiful
fuck me up
movie.
with some Indian food.
Ben Kingsley.
Ben.
Holy shit. All right. What the fuck are we talking about then?
We're talking about The Year of Living Dangerously. This is Peter Weir's film. His film that he did before this in 1981 was Gallipoli, which is
great movie.
Also stars Mel Gibson, Dave's countryman. So we love that. And then before that, a whole bunch of shorts, a couple TV movies and stuff. But these 2 movies really set him off. Other movies by Peter Weir that we talked about include Witness, Harrison Ford, and Dead Poets Society from 1989. We talked about that. And I don't know if we talked about The Truman Show, but it's awesome. So there's something else you know from him.
I talk about The Truman Show all the time.
There you go. So yes, Peter Weir directed this here film written by C.J. Koch's novel. But Peter Weir co-wrote it with David Williamson. And I think we already mentioned the cast. Sigourney Weaver's a British accent, Linda Hunt, and then a whole bunch of that guy actors who were so fun and so good. But yes, definitely Mel Gibson as the lead with Linda Hunt as sort of the narrator. And she ended up winning an Oscar for Outstanding Actress in a Supporting Role, even though she definitely plays a male character in this movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is this famous story. And they never...
Apparently when auditioning, he couldn't find a male that played it the way he wanted.
I mean, it's so good. I mean, nowadays she probably wouldn't get away with it because, you know, she's supposed to be Indonesian, but because I don't think she is, right? Is she?
No, they reference that she's Chinese Australian, or he's Chinese Australian.
Chinese Australian.
Yeah. And he's American Australian or British Australian?
American, I think.
Yeah, I think he's also supposed to be like, they're supposed to be mixed ethnicities and mixed countries.
Yeah.
She's so fucking good, and if you didn't know that it was her and you didn't know anything about her, you probably would have just thought they just cast this perfect person they found, and that's that.
It was a really good fucking role.
Holy shit, she was good. So anyway, we always do spoiler-free little round here, even though this movie's 40 years old. So let's go a quick round. 40 years later, spoiler-free. What'd you guys think? What'd you feel? Initial takeaways of seeing the rewatch, which Dave made us fucking rent. Give Jeff Bezos some more fucking space money. Well, I'm such an anti-capitalist today. What do you guys think? What'd you feel? Let's start with John because Dave recommended this movie. John, what'd you think? What'd you feel?
Space money. Oh, sorry. Space money. That's good.
It's just like dark-colored money with like Banjo Patterson on it.
Oh man! All right, I really enjoyed it. This kind of movie. Very specifically, we'll remove the romance from it, but that very specific 2 hours dealing with some kind of, and it usually is, if I'm being totally honest, some kind of Western point of view on an issue happening abroad, like The Killing Fields or movies like this, where for 2 hours we're going to dip our toe in the water of a political issue that may not have gotten much light in history books and things like that. And it kind of opens the door to this.
Fucking did in my country.
This issue. I'm sure it did, dude.
Because it was happening right across the strait.
So I had not really read or seen much about this issue. So like, does this movie cover the entire saga? No. Of course not. And it's not supposed to. I don't think movies like this are supposed to do that. So I think sometimes, even when I was younger and movies like this were still coming out, there was criticism for movies trying to talk about a Westerner's perspective on a very complicated geopolitical issue happening in another part of the world. But I always felt like this is supposed to be a stepping stone. If you're interested in this, it's going to maybe make you feel something emotional about this issue, and then you can continue your reading, which I did a little bit. I thought the performances were really strong. This is a super, like, I think this movie is greatest achievement in movies like this when they do well. It kind of doesn't matter where it's set, and I mean that with the most respect possible. It's not that the details, they don't get into the minutia, but in a sense, it's good that they do that because the specificity of how these characters feel about the issue is so relatable that you just know from the jump, okay, this is one of those countries that's going through that kind of turmoil at the time. We have journalists coming in. Some of them, all of them seem to have some kind of connection to it, and they seem to care, maybe some more about their objective job of being a journalist and their ambitions. But you're definitely going to have those characters that make you think, why this country? Why are they here? Why are they trying to promote this kind of storytelling as journalists within the story? And it did that for me. I felt like I began to care, and it didn't just feel like another country that at the time was a third world nation that was on the brink of civil war. It started to feel like something else. There is also that classic 1980s, even into the 90s romantic spin. But at least for me, I don't know how you guys felt, the romance did not suffocate the politics for me. Sometimes these movies can be too heavy on the romance. And I don't feel like this was. When it was romantic, it was fucking romantic and sensual, a whole lot of kissing scenes. These two really wanted each other physically. I could feel that. But it didn't seem to be the tip of the spear. So I thought they did a good job balancing that. And yeah, Linda Hunt was just like another world, one of those performances where you're just like, how the fuck can somebody be that good at playing a role that is probably miles away from her? I don't know if she grew up in fucking Indonesia. I doubt it. I don't know if she grew up identifying with any of these politics. I doubt it. So yeah, I had never heard of this movie before, which I felt kind of dumb for saying that, but I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it's a must see, but I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
Dave?
Fair. I have a long history with this one. Like, we watched it, of course, in Australia when it came out, because like Australian film, Mel Gibson, that sort of thing. But it's also written, as you said, by David Williamson, which is one of my favorite playwrights. Like, we studied the shit out of this guy in school. Wow. So like I've actually done sound design for at least one of his plays.
Jesus.
Really? I did the club here in New York. I've also been involved with he did Don's Party, The Removalists, all of them kind of like he writes stuff that highlights the troubles of the times. Like, he was calling out domestic violence in the 70s in Australia. Wow. And Australia is known for having a huge domestic violence problem.
That's surprising. You guys aren't big drinkers. I just can't imagine how that's a possibility. It's a sober, dry country there.
Yeah, it's our epidemic. You know, we couldn't get our hands on the opioids you guys have, so yeah, we're angry about it. Apparently, I don't know.
Good for him though, for calling it out. Jesus. Fuck you, Jesus.
Say for shouting out the fentanyl issue that we have going on in America.
Yeah, fix your shit, everyone.
Everyone, yeah,
everyone. No, it actually is pretty bad down there. Like, they have a commission that's looking into this and why it's happening and stuff like that. And the commission, it like the political stuff we watched in this movie just gets fucking bogged down, or like there's nothing gets accomplished because they're just too busy arguing over what they should do in the first place. It's like the fucking Judean People's Front and Life of Brian. It's like, something's happening, actually do something. But yeah. It goes on. But yeah, he's a very famous playwright. I like a lot of his work. A lot of these characters fall right into his wheelhouse. So for me, it was like just another thing that Williamson had written that I could, absorb and enjoy. So I think that's why I kind of went after that one so hard, because I really like the guy's work. Nice. Yeah, and also there's the Linda Hunt performance, which is just fucking amazing.
Yeah, truly.
Like, if that character was cast differently, I'm not sure this movie would have been as successful. Like, that is a grounding influence in this whole film.
It's funny because
on the page,
Linda Hunt is.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying on the page, it's the same thing. It's like casting, a really important child's role. Like, if you can't cast that role correctly and people don't buy it, your movie's dead.
Yeah.
You know, like
Well,
this was that role for this movie.
Well, John's in film school, and my dabbling in writing school is basically like you basically have two choices as a writer. You can either write practically and be like, well, we're never going to cast this role, so I need to make it like, casting proof that I'll be able to have a cast. Or you write to the story you need and just worry about that shit later. Make sure the script's airtight, and then you have to figure it out later. And apparently it was very difficult. They couldn't find a guy. So that's how they ended up with them in Hamilton. They tried. It's not like they didn't try.
Yeah.
Linda Hunt.
Indonesia is my
Mel Gibson's like, come with me if you want to live.
That's so funny.
This movie, I had no idea.
Needed.
I didn't know why Dave was fighting for it so hard. And then it opens with like the shadow puppets and that music. And I was hooked just from the absolute jump from that. It was so creepy and it was dark. And then, lines. I think what sells the movie is, so we keep talking about Linda Hunt. So if we go even further, Linda Hunt has very famous voiceovers. But again, I really didn't even think about the fact that, and I remember hearing this story because I like the Oscars, and it's like this famous story about she won for a female category at the Oscars, even though she played a male. And at no point in the movie did they ever mention that this is female, because she wasn't female. She played a man. And so it's basically like, what is the point of the Oscars? Anyway, it was really interesting. But I didn't think about it. It took me so long to figure it out because I was like, who the fuck is this person? And it wasn't until I like paused the movie almost halfway through that I was like, oh my God, this is that movie. But the voiceover is so haunting. The voiceover is so haunting. And then you see who it is. So chipper, so friendly, getting to know this person. And we are meant to, like, are they spies? They kind of introduce these ideas that there could be, intruders in the midst. And he's just press. He's Australian press, and that's it. He's filling the new assignment from, is it API? Whatever whatever his credentials were from his Australian press. And it's just, it has this allure of like all the kind of the stuff we love about spy dramas, but it's not that. He is a press man, and then immediately becomes a great journalism story. And I was actually thinking while I'm filming this, is like, there aren't that many great print journalism movies. All the President's Men and Spotlight come to mind, and there's a lot of great like media movies like Network and stuff. But like, it's so interesting the way they get the stories, the way they get the scoop. That's not news. You're printing fluff, etc. But then you get into the politics. And that's it for me. I'm so hooked. I think the line that really got me is when it's a voiceover by Linda Hunt, of course, when the character Billy says, "We all become children again when we see the poverty in Asia."
Oh my God, yeah.
And it's like, and you see him stepping outside of Jakarta, and he's touring the rest, and it's like, oh my God, and then you have this kind of Western responsibility. Of course, we all know that Saigon is happening at the same time as this, 1965. I mean, it's so haunting that how could I not love it? How could I not be hooked?
It's funny because this you heard this thing was actually shut down and moved mid-production.
Interesting.
When they were shooting in Manila.
The Philippines?
No, it was moved. It was moved back to Australia because someone floated a rumor that it was anti-Muslim, and Mel Gibson and a couple of other, like the director, I think it was as well, started getting death threats. So they shut up shop and moved the whole thing back to Sydney. Yeah. So that's why some of those shots, like where you see the alleyway with the burning car, it's literally just an alleyway in Sydney that they're using as a location.
Well, they did a good job, because that protest scene, and of course there's a lot of protests going on now. I live in New York City, and I still teach at Columbia University, and so all these things you hear about in the news, like I get all the emails before they happen, and I'm like, oh shit, this is happening today. A mass protest, mass walkout. They have to check security at all the gates and everything, and then I see this protest sequence that they have, where you have like this communist wannabe takeover of this Muslim regime. I mean, it's when they dropped the rocks down and they started throwing. I was really scared. Like,
it's not like let's grab a few rocks and go protest. No, they load a fucking truck. They've got a lot to say. They're backing the truck full of rocks up.
And the fact that they didn't get retaliated against. I mean, it was really powerful. It was really, really, really powerful. Because I don't know much about Indonesia. And we had an Indonesia fellowship at our church. We had a lot of Indonesian people, at a Christian church. And I did know that if you would get sent back to Indonesia, if you got deported, if you didn't have papers, you could be killed still today. Or at least this was like 10, 15 years ago, because it was illegal to be Christian. And so they're doing this communist uprising where they're trying to oust this, this religious secularism. Also, they have 17,000 islands. I mean, so I'm saying that, I'm like, of course, how can they keep track of everybody? 17,000 islands of Indonesia. They have 5 big islands. Bali's not even one of them. So it's like, I can't even, this ungovernable place. And I think as an American watching this, you sit there and we fucked up even more going to Vietnam, understanding that this was one teeny tiny country while all this other shit was happening. What the fuck were we thinking going to there? Like, we want to solve all the world's problems while we're at it, and then we're not going to give them money. We're just going to cause problems. Get the fuck out of there. It really made me think a lot of things. This movie was great.
It was the military industrial complex, dude. We made a lot of money. Some companies made a lot of money over there while we were over there. Just to give people a little bit of context, just so they'll know what this is about. This is a period that is considered the transition to the New Order in Indonesia, around 1965 through 1968. I'll just read just a couple sentences to give people some context from Wikipedia. Indonesia's transition to the New Order in the mid-60s was when the first elected president, Sukarno, who is the president currently in most of this movie, elected by mostly a Muslim population, after 22 years in the position. There's this uprising by a communist grassroots level movement that eventually tries to overthrow him. They have infiltrated in a lot of places throughout the government and a small part of the military. That small part of the military of the PKI, this communist movement, starts a coup. And we get to see in this movie part of the coup succeeding. And then this is one of my favorite parts about this movie. I don't think this is like a spoiler, but structurally, this is what's so beautiful about having this like outside perspective versus trying to tell the story of the coup is that we go away from the coup because our protagonist gets injured trying to cover the story, and then we just find out a couple days later that the coup failed. And there's something so like it just pulls the rug out emotionally when you're with Mel and he's got the shit wrapped around his eyes and he just hears from his friend who was a part of that communist party, yeah, it didn't work. It failed, and we're all going to get fucking killed. So after this thing fails, Sukarno is taken out of power, and what is his name? Suharto is the general, basically. He is the leader of the military that mobilizes forces against this communist uprising, and he takes power, and he is president of that country in a military-led political regime for 31 years.
Yeah.
So we get to see this, the perspective, and I bet a lot of it is in the novel, but the point of view and perspective that they have on telling what this story looks like from somebody desperate to understand something that they will never be able to understand. That's the magic of this movie. It's like all those great Vietnam stories. I have watched every fucking thing I can get my hands on, including Ken Burns. I've taken classes on it, and I still don't understand what the fuck happened over there. You know, and that's just how those wars go. That's how those geopolitics work. And I just thought this movie captured that sensation really beautifully in its turn from Act 2 to Act 3.
And the Philippines would go into martial law in 72, which I know because of Here Lies Love, which really fucked me up. And I can't believe I didn't know that either. It's like all of these countries near Dave, it's just left out of our history. It's just left out of what we teach in schools. We all know like who were the axis of powers, which I guess matters because America went to that war, but we don't know any of this stuff.
It's so interesting watching. Like that. Well, it's interesting watching entertainment about this entertainment. I don't want to degrade these important issues.
I know, but it is. I mean, it's a movie. That's what it is.
It is because right now we're so globalized now, way more than we were in 1982. You know, we had the internet. Just of course there are these terrible, events that are going on all the time. There are a few that have our attention right now.
Yep.
And we get such real-time updates on all of them. It almost like, I'm not going to say whether or not it makes you want to learn more or less, but there is a very different experience with how we process information that is coming from afar for issues. It's almost like without a certain amount of objectivity to an issue that you're reading about in the paper, kind of can come overwhelming. I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't even like looking at their phone right now because they don't want to see certain images. But you can watch a movie like this or you can read, the paper about issues that were happening afar. And I don't know. I'm wondering when that really turned. I always think about how Cronkite was like covering Vietnam differently, and that was the first time people saw it. At those
times, you knew at 6 p.m. you would sit down and get your update for the day. It wasn't like this happened at 11:56 and you've got an alert on your phone at 11:57.
Yeah.
By some news like organization that just had to be first, whether it was right or not. But like it was, these stories were boots on the ground, people researching, people doing interviews with the people in the country, sending the story back over, and then editors there would decide whether or not to even publish that.
Right.
And it was a slower process. And yeah, I think you're right. It's like we get bombarded with so much information these days. It's interesting to see. Well, I mean, we've seen how coups go in this day and age.
But you see, I love the press angle, and I actually wish there was more press, to be honest with you, because they're here, they're not sharing, like as if the British press and the Australian press publishing on like, are they even going to publish on the same day if they reported at the same time? Like you'd almost think they would work together more, other than just getting drunk. But they seemed, I guess I liked the competitive spirit of it. But
that was the big thing at the beginning. Like they're saying that the former guy that he's replacing stiffed him because basically when you get transferred there, you're supposed to take him around and introduce him to all his contacts. And he didn't do that. He just quit and fucking left this guy in the lurch. So he had no contacts.
That was a good scene where they're all like sucking
Billy.
up to the generals and they're sucking up to all the people trying to get stories from them.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
I could use more. So let's segue into the romance, because this is entertainment, and you got Sigourney Weaver, right? This is, a couple years after Alien, and Mel Gibson, who had already done Mad Max and a couple other movies before this. But so they're bona fide stars.
Yeah. Two
and
absolute badass characters together in one movie.
And she's the assistant to the British military attaché. He's this 4-star British general who's stationed there, and he's just a total political figurehead at this point, despite his military. As far as we're concerned, he just basically drinks at pool and shakes hands and goes to important meetings and talks about military shit. And she's just sort of his assistant. And obviously, there's no doubt that they're going to have a romance. But I think it did stall the politics for a time being, except for the fact that, of course, they started changing. But there were 20 minutes there where it just turned into like what James Bond used to do in 2 minutes, that little romance sequence. It became like this 15, 20-minute sequence. Did you guys think that it held the movie back a little bit there?
I didn't think so. I was kind of you do wonder where it's going with that, because they don't set it up as that. And then suddenly it's been to this romance, and then you got Billy doing some other sinister thing, like following them around, and you're like, what's that about?
And
then they kind of start hinting that one or both of them might be spies. And that's kind of never really
interesting,
resolved.
right?
Okay. Because I thought a lot about this, because I kind of had the same situation that you did, Jeff. We're in spoilers, right? Because I am going to say something.
I mean, it's 40 years old. We're
sure.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, go and watch this movie anyway.
Yeah.
I think I felt that way until a massive turn comes with Linda Hunt's character Billy. And that's when I realized what this movie was actually about. So when you're following Mel Gibson and you think he's our protagonist, but even when you're watching him in the beginning, you're kind of like, why are we're not in a lot of close-ups with him. We're not hearing him talk about how he feels all the time. We're just kind of following him. And I started wondering, like, what is Peter Weir doing? Like, is he our protagonist or not? Or is it Billy?
Yeah.
And is this a Gatsby thing? I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I think it is more of a Gatsby thing. I think we're observing Mel Gibson as a secondary protagonist. And when they start falling in love, just like you guys were saying, when they start falling in love and Billy sets it up with, and you're kind of like, is he setting this up? And is this about him manipulating these people? Is he a spy? What's happening with his character? That 20 minutes almost seems like a catalyst for Billy's ultimate realization that he can't trust Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
Like, I know that seems like we could still say the argument is, did we need 20 minutes of it, though, for him to take a story from her after she admits, after they have sex and they're falling in love, that she says, I know something that's important. And Mel Gibson says, well, I'm fucking printing it. Yeah. That is the catalyst for Billy to say, I thought you were a different kind of person. I can't trust you. And then we see Billy's descent, and Billy eventually fucking commits like almost police suicide by hanging this sign as a protest outside of this big rally for Sukarno saying, feed your people, after his child dies. And he gets fucking thrown out of a fucking window, which my jaw was on the floor, by the way.
Is that Billy's child? Is it Billy's child?
No, he
it's
adopted
child.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But for the sake of, he took
that
the family
scene,
under his wing.
which by the way would never happen nowadays for obvious reasons, but holy shit. And the way Billy just like peeks in and then just like slowly like doesn't say a word. The second scene, not the first one where she says
incredible sequence. So when I realized that's actually what this movie is about. And it made me love what had happened to me psychologically and emotionally until Billy jumps out. But I think because of that, the glory of that pivot left the last act of this movie a little bit different for me. Like now, once I realized, like, well, who is my surrogate now?
Yeah.
Because it was Billy telling me how to feel about all these people.
Which is why we just find out this stuff out of nowhere, it seems like. It's like we didn't have that. But also, so it's leading you to believe that Billy's working for somebody. And I guess the answer is not, even though all the behavior would be the same as if he were CIA or British intelligence or even just Indonesian intelligence, working. But then you said it was something like the movie's kind of like You Can't Trust Mel Gibson. It almost seems like the movie was always about a plea for help, yes. And it was like, I thought you would be able to help us, but even in this moment of this uprising, it's exciting. It's newsworthy.
Dude, guys, what's the end of this movie? They tricked Western audiences into thinking that there was a powerful plea of an act of love, a gesture of love that he goes to her at the end of this movie and gets on the plane. That was the West running away. For me, that's what I saw.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, right? Like it's supposed to be like, oh, he's going to meet her. He's running fucking scared. Yeah, because this is an unsolvable
when they got
problem.
through when they get held up with the papers, and he's like, "This is my press thing," and they let him through, and they're driving through, and people are being shot on the side of the road, and they're just laughing because they got through the gate.
They're laughing,
and it's like, that's when it was like, this is not about him.
I'm sure you guys thought the same fucking thing. It's when they were at that airport scene. It's not nearly on the same scale, but the emotional potency of that airport scene. I was flashing back to the Afghanistan airport, like
in Saigon, but Afghanistan one for sure.
Saigon, all these things, and God, that's what Peter Weir. And I wonder, I did not read enough good. Like I like sometimes when we go back in time, when we watch these movies, I like to read reviews of the time to just see if anybody was talking about the politics versus just did the film sell and did it do well. But I really think they snuck one in here. Like the whole thing with Sigourney and Mel Gibson almost ended up being like a kind of a fuck you to the entertainment industry of like, isn't it crazy how we can package these kinds of stories, and as long as there is a romance involved, they're palatable. And actually that's like that's your scapegoat when we deal with like, how do we get back to life? How do we get back to moving forward? When you have beautiful scenes like the one you referenced, where like what we really know for me is that Mel Gibson gets on that plane, but he will never be able to forget the night that he first saw those starving Indonesians. He'll be a child for the rest of his life.
I mean, honestly, it reminded me of concentration camp survivors in movies. Again, just through entertainment, but that's how skinny they were and how poor and impoverished and it was horrible. I know that sounds crazy to say out loud, but it's just the honest to God truth. And back to what you were saying, there's another moment too that I sort of highlight and I was ready to ask you about, but based on this conversation, I think there's an absurdity too that there has to be. First of all, he leaves the recorder behind, which has like his reporting on it, and it's basically like, just fucking have it. This is what the West is talking about, and everybody's just got so giddy to hear like, what's the West talking about, that they let him leave. Right? They just ignored him, and he walks out the door. So he is leaving that behind. And he's like, I don't even need this. I just need to get the fuck out of here. And they're sitting there like, what's going on? What's going on with the world? They don't even care about him as a person or a human anymore. But the one thing in the movie that was like, this seems a little strange, because they do take everything very seriously. They take the responsibility seriously. Mel Gibson and Sigourney Weaver, the first time that they run away together after their initial takeaway. So when they're at that fancy dinner party and there's the curfew, so they can't go out, and they break the barrier. There's like a checkpoint and they just go through it. Yeah. They get fucking they get like Sonny and the Godfather shot at with these machine guns. And I mean, and he's like, get down. And it's like
AK's raining terror.
And they are, and then all of a sudden they're just laughing hysterically. Ha 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 ha. And then fuck. And it's like, wait a second, what the fuck? Like, how did they just, is it worth, like, I mean, even if no sleeping escapade in my, I can't even imagine is worth going through a fucking firing squad to do. But in hindsight, again, those absurd moments maybe do actually, it's either we hate this doing this romance and Hollywood's making me do this if I'm Peter Weir, or it's this whole thing where it's like, what is with us with guns and violence and the story? Like, I don't know. There's something important to know about that.
I want to ask Peter Weir, were you making a point that there is a sick romanticism that the West has with these third world nations? Like, there's that image. I had the same feeling, dude. Those white people laughing while they're getting, shot up
while they're running the curfew.
Just for breaking a checkpoint.
Yeah.
Like even a DUI checkpoint. We're not going to shoot at somebody when they go by, but they're like.
I wonder if you felt
those were real.
It was just the
sincerity. And they were leaving the palace. They weren't even. If you were going towards the presidential palace and you broke a checkpoint, I can understand the guns. But they were just going to the middle of a bungalow somewhere.
Dude,
by the way, that one bungalow was fucking awesome with Tiger Lily. Holy shit, that was awesome. Sorry.
Like, curfew is curfew. They shut that country down. If you were seen out, you were shot.
I guess that's true. You could have been working for the
How about this, you guys? I think my only, and it's not even a complaint, but at the end of the movie, when Billy makes his turn into his realization, I was wrong. At the beginning of this movie, his homeostasis, he basically says Sukarno's a genius. I think that's literally one of his lines.
Yeah.
I think he's a genius. This current president they have, Billy's kind of like not on the same side as a lot of the reporters who are not totally pro-communist party, the PKI, but they're covering both sides, and they're seeing that Sukarno is not doing a great job from a political stance. And Billy says, I think he's a genius, but I don't feel like they had that scene or that story beat where, other than stating it, where Billy argues for it or demonstrates it, like shows Mel why they think that Sukarno is doing a good job. And I kind of wished, I just wished maybe I wanted that story beat. I don't want to beat it over the head. I didn't want it to be a cheap, look, he's good in this way and now he's bad in that way. But there are movies like Last King of Scotland and other ones where we have dictatorial rule, and you see people in this exact same scenario. Somebody says, I think they're good. And somebody else says, I don't know, be careful. And you get to see them do something that, Frank Lucas and American Gangster handing out turkeys on fucking Thanksgiving Day, and then he fucking blows somebody's head off. I guess I wanted just a little bit more of that. But if we're supposed to be on the outside and we can't really see in, I don't know, maybe that works because of that. Like, nothing was fully explained, and it was almost frustrating. Do you think that was intentional? Do you think that was how we were supposed to feel?
I mean, as far as Billy and where Billy sat, nobody knew where Billy sat, really. All of that was in the inner monologue, in the whatever he was writing. To the public, he was something else. Like to those reporters, he was something else.
Which is so fun. I love the reporter when he gets called out. He's like, you laugh at him because he likes little girls, but you like little boys. And that guy's like, well, I'm packing my bags tonight. That was pretty funny.
Well, that's the thing. Like, shouting that in a club would get that guy killed.
But he wasn't killed. But he was like, but I'm not gonna push my luck. I'm getting the fuck out of here tonight. I do have a gripe at this movie. That swimming match was fucking terrible. God, those people. God, at least pretend to know how to swim. Just have them do it a couple times. That was bad. And Tiger Lily's dive was really bad. Come on, Tiger Lily.
You Australians supposed to know how to swim. What does he say? What does he say to him? You blokes are supposed to be good at swimming.
Yeah.
All right, and I also
running from great white fucking sharks your entire life.
I also really like the line about the fucking puppets. It got me where Billy says, it's like the shadow. If you want to understand the people of Indonesia, you have to understand the shadow play, puppets. The shadow is the soul, and the screen is heaven. I was like, wow, if I said that, it would sound like shit, which I just did right now on this podcast. But
was it that moment was the... For me, that was.
Hey,
I feel like Peter Weir has a sequence like that in all of his movies, where like there's an artifice to it. There is something heightened about it. It's the Carpe Diem sequence. Carpe Diem, boys. When Robin's telling them to reach.
That's
for the stars.
That's a Peter Weir movie.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. I think he has those sequences in all of his movies where he like does something a little poetic, there's a little artifice introduced in it, and it's like. That's the movie. Like there's an essential moment in like somewhere in the beginning of the second act of his films, and I thought this one was gorgeous. And you know what? We'll give Peter credit, but God damn it, Mel sold that scene for me. the way he watched Billy talk about it, the sincerity of him, how much he liked Billy. Like he did. I mean, Mel Gibson's. It's inconvenient for some people, I guess, but that man is an incredible actor, and he really sold that for me.
He got himself sober. I think he's okay now.
Look, he has 2 Oscars. They're definitely not for his acting in Hamlet, but he does have 2 Oscars. I mean,
Oh, come on. He's really a great actor.
Yeah.
And he's just so good in this movie. Again, like if you were kind of what I was saying, that dilemma of like, who are we following? Is he a protagonist or not? That can be a tough role to play when you're looking at it on the script and you're asking yourself those questions. And I think he very honestly told himself, my only job is to listen to everybody that's talking to me. And obviously that might seem obvious as a journalist, but like every scene he's in, he is like almost obsessively engaged with whatever people are telling them. He's listening. There's an empathy there that's just so beautiful. So in that shadow moment, like it did not feel cheesy at all because he had no judgment for it. He didn't think it was cheesy. He was watching. And oh man, that was beautiful. How about Maurice Jarre's score? Do you guys like it?
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce that? Jarre?
I don't know how you say it, but he does all of Peter Weir's films. This is another good one for me. It worked.
Maurice Jarre.
Cool.
The score, it was fantastic. I mean, it was gripping. Yeah. He also did Lawrence of Arabia, so Dr. Zhivago, 3 Oscars. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he's no slouch. He's been around.
Ghost.
He was slumming it on this movie.
You know what else he did? Ghost.
Yeah, and like all of Peter Weir's films. But I loved his nods. He does this all the time, and he does it so well. And again, like it is appropriate. I'm very aware, folks. Like this is a Western slant on what these issues are. Like it's intentional. They're doing that on purpose. So his like nod to certain textures and instruments from that area of the world and bringing it into certain modes and forms of composition, but still making it feel like an accessible Western movie soundtrack. That's hard to do. I think he fucking hit the bullseye again. I think he nailed it.
Our cinematographer won an Oscar for a Peter Weir film, Master and Commander: The Far Side of the World. It's a miss for me. 2003. I've never seen it, but won Oscar.
Yeah,
for
Are you serious? Oh, dude, that might be my favorite Peter Weir film. You've never seen that?
Really? No. I mean, no.
Oh God, dude, Russell Crowe and
yeah, it won Best Cinematography. It says 4 Oscars. It beat fucking Lord of the Rings.
Roll 2003.
Yeah.
Well, it beat Two Towers. It was a weird thing where he won for the first one, wasn't nominated for the second one. But anyway,
do you like nautical?
Of course,
nautical story.
Give me some Hunt for Red October all day, every day. Let's go,
dude. Up Periscope is one of my favorite films.
God, that movie's funny. That movie's funny. Very slow movie, but please, motherfucker, watch it. Oh my God, I love that movie so much. Maybe we'll do 2003 next and we'll get to fucking watch it.
Well, let's do it, people. We're going to wrap this up here. What a fun conversation. I'm so glad we watched this, even though we had to give us some Bezo bucks to see it.
You know what? I'm glad you liked it.
We did.
I wasn't sure how this was going to go.
If we watch another fucking Australian movie, if it's 1979, we're doing Mad Max.
When we did this time machine thing, it was like I watched all these films that I never would have watched otherwise, and it was great. So I had a chance to return the favor.
I know.
So
I do like, even though none of us have time to do this, when we got to do like multiple, and that second movie was always a fucking fun wild card.
Yeah,
we saw like the orphans and shit. It's like, what's the matter with Baby Jean?
Oh yeah,
Baby Jane. By the way, dude, that fucking house is down the street from me. I didn't realize it until the exterior of the house. It's not the interior. They shot that on the stage. Yeah, it's like right.
How far are you? How far are you from Palos Verdes?
Kind of far. That's on the west side. So 30, depending on traffic, 25 to 45 or an hour, depending on how bad the traffic is.
25 to 45 to an hour. That's fucking the most LA shit you've ever said in your life. All right, Dave, let's spin. Let's spin the random. Fuck you, John. Get your drink count up. Let's spin the. Dave, you only had 4 buzzes this week. You had 27 last week. What's wrong with you? Fuck you, Dave.
Oh, Jesus.
So drinking
I'm going to take this scoreboard down.
All right, let's spin it. So everybody, thanks for listening. Next week, we're going to be talking about a random year that we're going to spin right now for you. Let's go, Dave. Let's do it. Spin, spin, spin. 1980. We just did 1982. Dave.
Oh, you got the wrong one. Ha.
I see it too. It says 1982.
Yeah, no. The one on yours says 1982 because I didn't copy the file over because I got home from set like 5 minutes before we did the show.
Wait,
1961.
are you telling me you know what it is before you roll it?
I did this time because I knew I was going to make it back.
Oh,
I rolled it early.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
What is it?
1961.
61.
Oh, cool. 61. Very fun.
All right. Well, we're not going to sit here and just sit here and Wikipedia this for you, even though we're all doing it separately right now, and you may as well, film fans. But we're going to finish up our episode here with our quick round of what you've been watching, where we give you our recommendations so that we can tell you what we've been watching on top of the mini reviews we gave you at the beginning of the episode. Dave, you watched The Marvels. Is there anything else you got to this week?
I watched the finale of Loki.
And?
In my opinion, one of the best character arcs Marvel has ever done.
God, he's good. I hope he got his money for it. Disney apparently, quote unquote, lost $290 million, whatever, this past quarter, but it was productive.
Well, maybe they should get this shit together. I don't know.
I'll get your count up, Dave. All right.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, sorry. Anyway, fuck you. Loki. Dave. I'm John.
I watched a bunch. By the way, I'm like an hour and a half from Palos Verdes. That's like south of Torrance. It's like way down there. I didn't realize that. Sorry.
Okay.
You don't even know where you are.
Well, I'm glad you're not going to be there because that would have taken forever to visit you.
No, too far.
West Side Story came out in 1961.
Yeah, we have some fun options. I saw a bunch of stuff. Elizabeth is now, she's not here right now, so I probably have way too much time on my hands in the late evening. So I've watched more movies than I've probably watched in a while. But she took me to Quentin Tarantino's one of his theaters, the New Beverly, 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, and we saw Wim Wenders' Wings of Desire. You guys ever heard of that one?
No.
It's the one that like City of Angels was very loosely based on.
Okay.
But like it's an art film version. It's really beautiful. That was awesome. I watched 2 Hal Hartley films. He was a SUNY Purchase, early 90s indie filmmaker guy. Edie Falco's in all of his like early stuff. I watched Trust and The Unbelievable Truth. And then I finished Winning Time. I caught up and finished that. And I say finished because I didn't realize they were ending it.
A podcast spoiled it for me. They didn't get renewed, so all of a sudden they just fucking credit rolled that shit. That could have gone for 10 years if they wanted it to.
Honestly, I was like, was that intentional? Like, it just fucking...
No.
Here comes Pat Benatar with Shadows of the Night. And I was like, is this the end of the movie? And they just start showing... Or in the series postscript just comes up. Pat Riley went on to... These guys went on. I was like, is this the end of the fucking show? Like, they really didn't feel like that.
Why did you end it 90s comedy style?
It's so good. It's like the Shadows of the Night playing over it, the montage. It's still really, really good. But I guess I just assumed we had years to go. They were tackling the 80s with this team, and I think they only got to 84 or something. So anyway, that was kind of weird, but it was good while it lasted. Thank you, Winning Time. That was fun.
I've seen a couple things. So I rewatched The Holiday, which I didn't like in college, but I was also like,
oh, come on.
I wanted to be an actor. And I think the one particular performance, I was like, this is not grounded. The director, they're not clicking. I don't like this. But rewatching it, it's like the only problem with this time is I kept thinking about it's much better to be single at the holidays if you have a lot of money. When is the next time they're going to do like a holiday movie where like people have like roommates and they don't have any space and they're poor? Like I'm very curious about that.
Fill in the gap for the first part of that sentence. It's much better. For the last part of that sentence, it's always if you have a lot of money. It's probably
it's like the only guy in town also happens to have a house that would make the McAllister family jealous. Like what the fuck? And he looks like Jude Law. That's the only the second problem. The only 2 problems I have is that Jude Law. They clearly know that this is like they're like okay, talented Mr. Ripley. We know he's the best, but like. How many reaction shots do they give him? They want his face on that screen as much as possible. And so he's just reacting the whole time. And it's like, he only has so many looks. At a certain point, he runs out of looks. So you got to cut away. You can't overdo it. Okay. So I rewatched The Holiday.
That movie's a staple. How good is Eli Wallach? Him and Kate Winslet.
Honestly, I actually, for a second, I was like, he looks so familiar. I turned to Angela knew the movie better than me. And I was like, is this a real person? Is this Arthur Lawrence? His name is Arthur Abbott. I was like, who is this? I swear on my life. And of course, it was just fucking Eli Wallach. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, he was so goddamn good. The only thing, though, is that he accepts this WGA award. And then they just have a full gala like 2 days later. Like, come on, people. Like, come on. Nancy Myers, let's go. You really, really good. But come on, make it age. Anyway, I loved it. It was much better this time for sure. I liked it a lot.
Hans Zimmer with the score. Sorry, I like that movie. That's a fun one, dude.
I saw there's a Nickelodeon documentary, which I think is a little too retrospective in order. It's called Make It Orange. It's on Hulu. And it's
cool.
it's fine, but it's like it just starts at the beginning and goes forward, and it's like, guys, you got to start from all that Rugrats, Are You Afraid of the Dark, and then work your way out. I spent this way too much time in the 80s with shit I didn't care about for sure. Although when they said Pete and Pete was a cross between Twin Peaks and it was a cross between Twin Peaks and I forget what they said after that. But I was like, that's awesome that they did this on a Nickelodeon show.
Yeah.
It's so true. His imagination literally came to life in it.
That was a weird show. There was some strangeness there for sure.
Twin Peaks and Dune. I don't know, something weird like that. Okay, and then I also saw The Holdovers, which John already did a mini review on, but Angela and I saw it and we loved it. And it was so fun when that movie ended, and it was us and all old people whose hearing aids were whistling in the crowd the entire time we were in there. And then all the fucking teenagers who got out of the Taylor Swift movie. It was just the oldest and the youngest at the same time. It was really fun afterwards. But The Holdovers of Paul Giamatti, Alexander Payne, it's so moving. It's just such a good movie. So go see it.
Good, man. I'm glad you liked it. Fuck yeah.
All right, 1961
Nice.
next week. Cannot wait.
Here we come. 61.
Cannot wait to talk about whatever movie we're going to be doing. Can't wait. Can't wait for John to give us Yojimbo as his selection. And Dave to sit here. And there's got to be some kind of Billy Wilder movie, or there's got to be some. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what we do. But
I'm
next
sure we
week,
can think of
can't
something.
wait. The Ladies' Man came out. Anyway, people, you're the best. See you next week, film fans.
Peace.